So the markets have been down since, and they opened up down this morning. So, Chip, what's your reaction to all that, and then how do you see that stuff heading towards the start of the week?
Yeah, pretty ugly report all around. Honestly, way bigger yield expectations or yield estimates than what was expected. They went up 4.4 bushels in corn. They're only expecting a couple bushel increase there, so that was way on the high side of expectations. Beans, we kind of got blown out of the water, right? They were expecting about a bushel increase, went up 3.1, second highest yield so far in history. Big million bushel bean carryout. So that was probably the most negative aspect of the report was the bean side of the equation. Again, it's the August report, so we've got several more reports until the January report to zero in on this yield. Corn, there's lots of arguments. They just did a population count, which is either record or second highest population in history, third highest ear weight in history. They don't actually start weighing physical ears until the September report. So there's an argument maybe this could be the highest corn yield estimate that we see, and it slightly shades back from here. Beans, there's going to be a big debate as well. The Dakotas look like maybe they're a little bit too high on yield expectations. The Dakotas, they've been super dry up there. But from the one-day aspect, that August crop report's awful negative. Beans just got crushed, 40-some cents, 42, 43 cents lower. More weakness in the overnight, like you mentioned. That's going to be the biggest issue on top of the China thing. This kind of exaggerates that problem now, and beans are going to be the weak link in everything. Wheat, they did cut world carryout, but not as much as expected. Lots of arguments there that they've got much deeper cuts to come in future reports. But again, we'll just have to wait and see. We're a month away from the September report. Between now and then, there's not going to be a lot, at least as far as anything from the USDA. So right now, coming into harvest, the pressure will be on. Corn and wheat will find support first. Beans will be the weak link. Again, day by day, hour by hour, week by week, we're going to wait for more or any news on the China trade front in beans. We really need something like that to happen. Buddy, and we're talking. Looks like we might get something worked out there, so that could be at least a little bit supportive because Mexico is such a huge buyer of a lot of U.S. agricultural products. A lot of currency fluctuations. We've got some problems in Turkey, some possible, currency and bank contagion there, particularly out of the European Union. Some of the major banks there have a lot of exposure to Turkey, so that's kind of got the currency markets in kind of crisis mode here at the end of last week, and then here again even over the weekend. So the dollar's up at 13, 14-month highs. That's not doing us any favors. Again, the bright spot in this whole thing, world wheat stock shrinking. They probably have more to go. Even though corn yields were up, there's probably a strong argument that at least a 50-50 chance that we're going to see further cuts. I think they have some of the individual states maybe a little bit too high on a state-by-state corn yield. And the demand in corn went up like 225 million bushels. So we have by far record demand built up in corn. Carry out only a little over 1.6 billion with a record crop projected in corn. So we're actually cutting the carryout So it's not all doom and gloom. The beans are the weak spot. They have been for a while. Unfortunately, the path of least resistance for beans right now is lower, and that will weigh on corn and wheat. But there is good to excellent to maybe record arguing world corn and wheat demand right
So how'd the cattle market react to all the stuff that's going on?
Yeah, cattle, we're under some pressure late in the week. Cash traded a little bit weaker than expected. I think at least $3, at least two, if not $3 lower. So the cattle market, obviously the feeders get some push and pull, right? Cheaper corn prices are supportive to feeders, but that's only part of the equation there. So we've got some mixed trade there. We have a strong rally off the lows in hogs, but then just as strong as a fall off. So we've seen a lot of volatility in hogs, but there's, even though we ended, $3-4 off the contract lows so far, there's still some underlying weakness in the hog market. So these livestock markets, cattle are the bright spot. They're holding up okay, although the cash market's starting to break a little bit, and hogs are the weak link there on the meat side of the equation. So still lots of volatility that's going to be seen there going forward as well.
Yep. You've had, Chip, and looking around, I just went through Iowa. What was it, last week? And with what's happening in northern Missouri and pretty much all Missouri for that matter, is your gut telling you that you feel like this number's right? I mean, because what I saw driving, I don't know, Cancel Bluffs in that area, looked some dryness there. It didn't look like it was the best corn in the world. Do you feel like these numbers are going to actually pan out towards the end of the year? Or do you feel like maybe there might be they might be missing something here when they're looking at the dryness of the crop that's out there?
Yeah, I think that there's a strong argument that they could shave the Iowa corn yield back, and probably the Missouri corn yield, probably too high in possibly even Minnesota, likely too high in Indiana. You talk to people in Ohio. So yeah, I do think that there's an argument there. The September crop report will know much more because they do actual, field by field ear counts and ear weights. So we're going to have a much better feel on the September crop report. But I think with such a high yield in August and some state by state yields that are record or close to it, that there is some room for a shock there if they have to go back lower. So yeah, I think there's a strong argument in several states that they're too high on corn yields. And really, honestly, in August, that survey's done the first few days of August. It's just too early to tell on beans. We've got a long way to go on beans. They look really good in some areas. The Dakotas are super dry. There's other pockets, down south that are on the dry side. It's just too early to tell on beans. But corn, yes, strong argument in several states that they're too high on the state yields and have to come back lower. We'll see whether they do or not. If they do, that should be starting to be seen on that September crop report. So, a month from now, we'll have a much better picture.
Right on. All right, Chip. Well, as always, there's volatility in the marketplace, and in order to combat volatility, you got to have a plan. So if guys want to talk about the plan, how would they do that, Chip?
Yeah, best way, just call us, 309-550-7213. Even then, since we're down near low prices, this market here in the last 2-3 weeks has given us opportunities, to clean up some old crop corn and to do some maneuvering. So it's never a bad time to focus on the market. It's always a bad time to put them by the wayside and say I'll worry about them after harvest because the opportunities are right now. So we'd welcome a call. Love to chat with you. Just call our office. We'd love to talk.
All right, Chip. Well, till tomorrow, have a good day, and we'll talk to you then.
Sounds good. You too.
All right, thanks, Chip.